Now we start this hour with Iran and US. Iran has reportedly shown a willingness to suspend its nuclear program in an effort to reach an agreement with the US and ease rising tensions. Media reports claim that Tehran is exploring ways to avoid conflict, possibly by halting its nuclear activities. Sources close to the discussions suggest that Iran is open to the idea of forming a regional consortium for nuclear power production, which would involve multiple countries. This proposal reportedly comes amid ongoing back-channel communications between Iran and U.S. officials. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are expected to meet in Istanbul on February 6th, with U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner also in attendance. Senior officials from Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt will join the talks as well. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Collins Chong-Yu-Keith. He's a Foreign Affairs, Security, and Strategy Analyst, joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Mr. Collins, for joining us. Thank you. Now Iran seems to be, it seems to have maybe decided to ease out on how hard stance they were about their nuclear ambitions. Do you think this is their strategy, or do you think they are cornered right now? That's why they have come up with this.
Well, it's a combination of both, but as I've stated, they have been at the losing end in terms of any possibilities of a greater tit for tat move or hardening the stance against President Trump's approach. We have seen how this is a testimony of how President Trump has used the peace through strength approach, effective deterrent measures, and of course also we have seen this a mixture of the tools being used by Washington and President Trump have managed to compel Tehran to come to the negotiating table, and hence we have seen this being reflected in the willingness of Tehran to also show signs of goodwill. And of course also we have seen also these tensions within Iran itself. Some reformists have been all for this detente and these efforts to de-escalate risks, while hardliners within Iran also have historically not been that keen. And we have seen how this increased U.S. posture in terms of the forceful display of deterrence efforts, and of course also the credibility of the cost being imposed should Iran is unwilling to toe the line. And we have seen a combination of factors in domestic politics in Iran, as well as the efficacy of the posture and the moves by President Trump in pushing for Iran to come to this offer. And of course, if it does not, then they are cognizant of the facts of the red lines being imposed, and the willingness, especially the willingness of President Trump to impose those red lines and to impose costs on the current regime, and this will spell even further disasters for the future legitimacy and survival of the regime itself. So hence we have seen this wise choice being made, but of course also we have to be wary of the couple of days and weeks to come in terms of the success of this broader opening up by both sides. We have seen also this precedent in place by past agreements where there's yet to have this sustained momentum and lack of trust and on both sides to see that through. And of course also there needs to be a sustained measure by both sides to ensure that this will be lasting and not being temporary in nature.
Right. And so what do you think US's main motive is? If it is regime change, then a few negotiations and maybe decide or agreeing over their nuclear or limiting their nuclear ambitions, that doesn't achieve what US eventually or ultimately wants, right? So what do you think is their motive?
Well, we have seen how it has played out for the past couple of weeks now. Different thoughts and arguments have been put forth as to what really is the motive of President Trump in pushing Tehran, and of course some actions have been held back a couple of weeks ago to give more rooms and platforms for the current regime to show signs of goodwill and to mitigate and to make some changes on the ground. And a lot depends also on the willingness of the current regime to negotiate, especially in regards to the sensitive topics about nuclear containment and nuclear proliferation. And if they have this intent and the openness to show that they are willing to talk and to do some necessary actions that will be reflected on the ground on a long-term basis with regards to this issue that has been at the main forefront, which is the nuclear issue. And if that is being managed well, then I don't see the need or any further pretext by the Trump administration to escalate things further. So as I've stated, it all depends on the sincerity and the outlook on both sides, but especially from Tehran, as to how we'll manage these ties with Washington moving forward, knowing that any wrong moves or any wrong messages being sent will then spell further risk to its own survival, its own regime. So I don't see that happening for now, at least for now, in terms of regime change, and the core focus will still remain on the on the issue of nuclear, as well as the reform measures and the treatment of the people in Iran. So those will be the two main factors that will be in play, and it depends also on what actions that the regime will take to show positive momentum, positive progress, and to ward off any risk of that action being taken by Washington. But for now, I don't see that happening.
And lastly, Mr. Collins, so how do you see the alignment of all the envoys or delegation who will be present in the upcoming talks, such as Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, then U.S. Special Envoy, also Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, then senior officials from Middle Eastern countries like Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt?
Well, of course, we've seen how the regional fears and wariness and tensions have been escalating, and of course also the Gulf states and other regional actors have been fearful of further escalations and the very consequential spillover impact, not only to the region but to the entire world. Fearing an all-out war between Iran and the US will definitely destabilize the whole power equation, will destabilize energy markets, will destabilize the security prospects in the region. So and this will have long-term chain effects affecting not only these nations but the whole equation also. So of course they can their actions and their push and their diplomatic efforts have been bearing fruits for now, acting as facilitators, and of course also the presence of Kushner has been also instrumental in in ironing out these key differences and to tell things frankly that red lines have been there, and that the approaches and models being used by the current Trump administration are definitely not similar to those that have been used before, at least on conventional terms, under the Obama and Biden administrations. So for now, there's no playing games with President Trump, as Venezuela's incident has been proven, and that and this, I think this key message is now being acknowledged by the current Iranian regime, that the timeline now is definitely different from those eras of the Biden and the Obama administrations. And that, but we have seen how regional diplomacy and shuttle diplomacy and back and forth have been also bearing fruit. Of course, it's our hope that de-escalation will continue to remain, but it all depends also the ball is in the court of the Iranian regime now to showcase goodwill and the willingness to extend this convergence of incentives for both sides to de-escalate and to show credible commitment and mechanism to preserve these agreed points moving forward.
With that, I'd like to thank Mr. Collins Keith for joining us. Thank you. Now we have a breaking news.